Your brother was murdered. Speaking from that perspective, why are you pushing to have the death penalty repealed?
Because in the 18 years since my brother and his friends were murdered, I have found that the death penalty is a false promise to victims' families. It provides more harm than good. It's reversed very often. In my own case with my brother, death penalty was pursued and then suddenly dropped. And then once the trial piece is over, the families still are in the process of grieving, and they still need to find a way to live their lives. The death penalty doesn't do anything for that.
Some families, though, say, I want justice for my loved one. You don't believe the death penalty provides justice?
No, I don't. I think that the man who killed my brother, if he had been executed, it would not begin to make up for the loss of my brother, his 4 friends, and the devastation to our community. It's never going to balance the scales. We have to find our own way to move forward into the future and make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else.
We've listened to the people that have testified, and I will admit it's been moving testimony. It's been effective on me as a police officer and as a police chief. But after 40 years in law enforcement, I understand the necessity for having the death penalty. People will say that, okay, it's more expensive. Well, that's not exactly true. We presented a paper to the members of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives to identify certain anomalies, I should say, in the facts and figures that have been presented by the party wanting to repeal the death penalty. The fact is, we can't put a price on prosecution or removing people from society who have committed the worst crimes that you can imagine, the worst crimes that you could ever see. You want to place them in prison for life without parole. And the reason that I personally and many of my contemporaries don't want to go with life without parole is because, is it truly going to be life without parole? Or is the political environment going to change in 10 or 15 years where it's now too expensive to house these prisoners for 35 or 40 years. And now we're going to commute sentences to life without parole to lifetime served over 25 years.
What we should be talking about today, what the subject should be, is the death penalty as it applies to Delaware, not the death penalty as it applies to Texas, California, or any other state. The Delaware system is, in the opinion of the Delaware Police Chiefs Council, not broken. It functions very well. It has been very successful. We have heard of examples in Delaware where charges were dropped on a man who may have been sentenced to the death penalty had they moved forward with his trial. They didn't move forward with his trial. The charges were dropped. The system worked. He didn't get the death penalty. We heard of another man who was sat on death row for 20 years, and it was overturned. You didn't hear that he was found innocent and that he was released. You heard that the death penalty was overturned, and he was resentenced. There's a big difference there. It's another perfect example of how Delaware's system is working.